Clearly, Musa alayhi salam, you and I know, his patience has been tested throughout his life. Throughout his life, time and time again, his patience has been tested. And yet, these lessons, his teacher is telling him, they're not that easy. It's going to test your patience. You're going to lose it. You're not going to be able to withhold it. That's a pretty powerful statement to make. And for Quran to record it like that about Musa alayhi salam. And he says, "Satajiduni insha'Allahu sabiran." You'll find me patient. Inshallah, if Allah wills, I'm not saying that I have that capability, but if Allah grants me that capability, I will demonstrate patience to you. Okay, so that's his prerequisite for this learning. This is important for us because before we learn anything about these lessons, what we have to internalize is that these lessons cannot be learned if you're not patient. And these lessons will only be learned if your and my patience is tested, if we're put in difficult circumstances. These lessons are directly related to difficulty and hardship, where your patience and your grit is going to be put to the test. So this is what Musa alayhi salam is being told. And of course, Musa alayhi salam has seen difficulty before. This is not new for him. So he's pretty confident he'll be able to manage the situation. So they go on their way. And instead of me going ayah by ayah, I'll just share some highlights with you. The first stop on their journey is that they asked this teacher of his and Musa alayhi salam, they board onto a ship. حَتَّى إِذَا رَكِبَ فِي السَّفِينَةِ. Now when they board onto a ship, obviously there are people, they're travelers, and they ask these people, can we ride with you? So they've done them a favor. The circumstance is not just about a ship. You have to understand, now we have a situation where there are people who did other people a favor. The people that own the ship have done Musa alayhi salam and his teacher a favor by allowing them to ride along with them. They go on this ride, خَرَقَهَا, he starts going, you can imagine, goes to the bottom of the ship and starts ripping out the planks and damaging the ship. It's now starting to sink from inside. And Musa alayhi salam is like, أَخَرَقْتَهَا لِتُغْرِقَ أَهْلَهَا? Have you just damaged this boat so you can drown the people that are on it? What are you doing? What an unheard of thing you're doing. لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. What a terrible thing you're up to. How could you do this? And the teacher turns to him and says, أَلَمْ أَقُلْ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. Didn't I tell you you don't have the patience for this? You can't learn these lessons. And he says, okay, لَا تُؤَاخِذْنِي بِمَا نَسِيتُ وَلَا تُرْهِقْنِي مِنْ أَمْرِي عُسْرًا. Okay, don't hold me to this. Don't penalize me for this mistake, and don't make this hard for me. Fine. You just do what you do. But before we go any further, I want you to appreciate something. There are people that are going to be in your life and mine that you might be doing something good to. You did something good to them, and they do something terrible to you. And you're standing there, what? Why would you do this to me? He doesn't know what the lesson is yet. He's still got questions in his head. Why did this happen? You don't have the patience. Let's keep going. Time for lesson number 2. And they go on to lesson number 2, and they see this kid. They don't know who this child is. And he just kills the kid. This man kills a child. This child has done nothing to you. He's committed no crime. They don't even know him. Musa alayhi salam is in absolute shock. Now we've got 2 circumstances so far. One in which people did good to them, and apparently they did bad back. In the other, nobody did anything to you. You have nothing to do with this one. Why would you harm them? Why would you do something to them? And this is also something unfathomable for Musa alayhi salam. And then you get to the third circumstance. And فَوَجَدَ جِدَارًا يُرِيدُ أَنْ يَنْقَضَّ فَأَقَامَهُ. They went to some town, and فَأَبَوْا يُضَيِّفُهُمَا. They refused, the people refused to be hospitable to them in the least bit. Hey, do you know where the well is? Maybe we drink some water. Shut the door in their face. Pushing them around. Nobody's offering them any help. That kind of thing. So when that happens, and they're not welcome, they're walking by and they see this monument type wall that's broken down and it's tipping over. يُرِيدُ أَنْ يَنْقَضَّ. It looks like it's going to tip over and damage the whole street. And his teacher says, yeah, we're going to work on this wall. We're going to fix this whole wall in the middle of town. People are cursing at them. People don't care for them. People are clearly letting them know, you better leave here. You better get out of here. And they're fixing the street in the middle. They're fixing this wall in the middle. And Musa alayhi salam's like, these people are terrible to us. And they won't even give us so much as a sip of water. We've been working and laboring here all day building this wall. If you wanted, you could have been paid for this work at least. Maybe we would have gotten a couple of dollars here and there, and maybe we would have eaten something. But that much, and he says, this is it. This is the time you and I part. هَذَا فِرَاقُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنِكَ. It's interesting, the story began where two oceans meet, and it's ending where they part. Reasoning behind all three of these. There was a greater plan from Allah. And in this plan, those people whose ship was destroyed, actually their ship was about to be seized by the navy. The king was taking every ship to add to his navy. When they came by their ship, they saw the ship is damaged. They said, no good for the navy. They let it go. They're going to suffer damages. They're going to have to fix it up, but at least they still get to keep their livelihood. They can still earn a living. In the case of the child, only Allah could have known that down the road in the future, this child was going to be a criminal, tyrannical to his parents. And Allah gave that child an outlet to Jannah, and Allah allowed his parents also relief of great calamity that was coming their way. Nobody could have known that except Allah. In the case of this wall, Allah was looking out for two orphans in that town that was so mean to them, whose father left a great deal of money behind, and that money was buried under that wall. If that wall tipped over, people would have seen that treasure. They would have, the kind of people they are, we know what kind of people they are, those kids wouldn't have seen a penny of it. That would have been eaten up by somebody else. And Allah wanted that those kids grow up one day and are strong enough to protect their assets, and then they dig up what is theirs. This was Allah's plan. But in all of this, none of this makes any logical sense. I mean, unless you know Allah's plan, you're not going to know the logic behind something terrible that happens. What I'm getting at is sometimes you're going to do good for people and you're not going to get compensated like that wall. Sometimes people are going to do terrible things to you. You haven't done anything to them. Sometimes you've done good for them and they only do horrible things to you or somebody else. You see these things around you. And when this happens, your patience is going to be tested. How can they get away with this? How can they do this to me? Why would they do this? They're going to go through those circumstances. But this story and this guidance is going to remind us that we have to take a step back sometimes and just look at Allah's plan and say, I submit to it. There is something good in it, in this life and in the next. And you know what? I'm going to accept that.